Where were candidates kind of pushing back in the process now that it's a buyer's market, right? It's really the candidate can pick and choose. It was all about alleviating the roadblocks, and we still have we're still competing against everyone else. The pieces that we're investing in this year are around employee value proposition so that we can have a better employer brand in the market. We're not for everyone, and we have to be okay with that. We are a startup, and there's a lot of friction and challenges in a startup. If you haven't been in a tech startup before, it's just the pace and the change and everything that we're growing through. Actually slim down our applicants and really think about more quality of applicant and making sure we're targeting the right person so that you're not one of 500 who applied to a job. Maybe you're one of 50 carefully curated people that have read and thought about the position. People are going to fit the job based on keywords and just like tenure and experience. So that is helpful. It's not an end all be all.
Good morning. So today I have Liz with us, who is a leader focused on strategic growth initiatives and supporting a well-balanced work-life integration, which is hard these days just because a lot of people are working from home, and when we do work from home, we don't know when to stop. So I think Liz would definitely be a better judge of that, and she will tell us what it takes to create the fine balance between working at home but making sure you give yourself enough time to focus on yourself. Hi Liz, how are you doing today?
Hello, Minal. I'm doing well.
How is your day going so far? What are the plans for the rest of the day?
Well, it's a little bit quieter in the afternoons for me. I have a global team. Most of them are in Europe. So these are the hours that I'll be digging into our quarterly reporting. So a little bit of a data geek. And that'll be a bit of my afternoon is reporting for our executive team.
Okay, and how is your quarter looking so far, if you don't mind me asking?
We had one of the best hiring quarters so far. It was challenging. January is a really, really tough month. It was tough on our team. It was tough on managers. And people were busy taking care of their health, taking care of their lives, and changing jobs wasn't top of mind in December and January. So we turned things around, and March was just such a great month for us. We hired the most in one quarter that we've ever hired in the life of TA here, which is in one specific quarter, which is a really great track for us for the rest of the year.
Okay, and what caused the hiring? As in, like, just curious, as did you start a new project within your company? What caused the sudden need of hiring more people?
Yeah, we're a software company and migrating our platform fully into the cloud. And so with that integration, there's been a lot of hiring around the engineering talent. And we're also expanding our sales reach in North America. So there's been a big expansion across the board. So it's mainly engineering and sales where we've seen this huge spike. And really then all the supporting functions beyond engineering and sales, just because the growth path we're on towards our, IPO in the next, hopefully, a few years.
Okay, I'm curious though, Liz. A lot of companies who are focused on cloud specifically are hiring in the market, but I think a lot of companies these days are struggling to attract right talent just because there's so much competition in the market in the same specific niche. So, how did your company manage to hire so many people within the month of March specifically and attract the right talent for your company?
We've been really building our recruiting engine and it's taken time. So I've been at Nexthink for about a year and a half. And for me, it was digging into the data to understand what was happening in our process. Like, why weren't we making as many hires as we could be? Where were candidates kind of pushing back in the process now that it's a buyer's market, right? It's really the candidate can pick and choose. It was all about alleviating the roadblocks in the actual process. And we've had to revamp our compensation system. We now provide equity to every employee that joins, which is a huge a huge like break forward for us. Before we were giving equity to leaders coming on board. Now we're able to offer equity to all employees. We established a new entity in India this year. So
Oh, wow. Okay.
yes, getting that established and running has been really great. And I think the partnership with managers has really helped us to better define the candidate experience, better provide. And and we still have hurdle. I mean, we're still competing against everyone else. I mean, the pieces that we're investing in this year are around employee value proposition so that we can have a better employer brand in the market and differentiate ourselves. Um, and that has been like slow to start, but now it's kicking off. So I'm excited to see the payoff later in the year with that investment.
I'm sure with the amount of effort and the thought that you're putting into this, I'm sure the rewards will be fruitful.
I hope
But
so.
I'd love to, I hope so as well, Liz. So, Liz, I'd love to understand what is your hiring process like? A lot of companies these days have such long processes where a candidate will apply for a job, will forget it by the time he hears back. And then when he does hear back, it will be an automated email. So,
Hmm.
what is your hiring process like to make it a much more fruitful candidate experience?
I think the reality is that we don't at Nexthink. I would say that we're not for everyone, and we have to be okay with that. We are a startup, and there's a lot of friction and challenges in a startup. If you haven't been in a tech startup before, it's just the pace and the change and everything that we're growing through. you know, we started to evaluate the sources of our talent. And at the end of the day, our top sources are not coming from applications. When we look back at who we've hired over the past few years, it's really us going out and seeking and finding that talent. It's going through referrals, it's going through social shares and networks, which has been interesting, right? So I do think that there tends to be this like mass like apply, and maybe you're qualified, maybe you're not, maybe you've invested or looked into the company, maybe you haven't. So I think that's something that I've been trying to change a bit, is to actually slim down our applicants and really think about more quality of applicant and making sure we're targeting the right person so that you're not one of 500 who applied to a job. Maybe you're one of 50 carefully curated people that have read and thought about the position. Does that make some sense?
But that makes sense. But I think my follow up question for you would that be you have 50 candidates equally as good. How would you choose one candidate from those candidates that you carefully curated, created a pipeline
Yeah.
out of to make sure that they would fit your job?
We do use our ATS and some investments there. We recently invested in a algorithm tool that helps one remove bias. So it takes other things in account. You can blind names and blind schools and locations. But it also is an AI learning tool that helps the system get to know what types of um, people are going to fit the job based on keywords and just like tenure and experience. So that is helpful. It's not an end all be all. I think what we typically do is we will take a look through all applications and then we create like a short list based on maybe industry experience. It's kind of where we are in a lot of startups when they're in our size, is they're looking for expertise in the exact field. So end user management, not a lot of people in there. So we tend to look first, I think, at maybe industry expertise, companies that are similar to our size or are like that. Someone's going to be able to understand the complexity, right? Especially if we're in like talking about engineering or product. So we create short lists and then we work with the managers and we go through them and we take selections. But we will do quite a lot of phone screens. We might do 5 to 7, maybe 10, depending on the role. And then from there, we're working with the candidate we do a values based interview to really see how this individual maybe adds to our culture, adds to the values that we have. And so we kind of start there from the recruiter base, and then the managers take over with the process. We've streamlined it quite a bit. Um, I think in tech, that's the harder one, tech assessments and all of that. But we've really tried to streamline manager meet, and then we have panels where you get to meet a broader group of the team. And we really are quick to make decisions. I think when we get someone through the interview process, we're ready. We're calibrated enough to know what we're looking for.
Okay, I think that's very important just because a lot of candidates these days, when it comes to long processes, they're just like, nah, how long does it take? If it's more than a month, they'd be like, I might.
It's just like buying a house.
Exactly. Exactly.
Done.
So, as in, like, I love that you streamlined the process, you've thought through it, you definitely have a team that seems competent enough to make sure that they can find candidates that would be a good fit. So, thank you for sharing that, Liz. Last question, Liz, is your company hiring? What kind of positions are open so people know what to seek for?
Yes, we have about 250 positions open
Okay,
throughout
wow.
throughout the US. We've got plenty of positions within sales. Our business development teams are growing, marketing, enterprise sales, and then throughout Europe. We're based in Lausanne. We have a lot of engineering and product openings, site reliability, like every support function you can think of. We probably have a position open in a team. So I would say keep an eye out depending on where you are location wise. In the US, yeah, definitely the go to market is our focus right now.
Okay, well, Liz, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's definitely inspiring to see a woman paving her way into technology, just because it's definitely very empowering, just because it's such a male dominated field. And I love that women are definitely breaking the stereotypes that exist and making a difference into the market. It's women like you who are out there who are giving way to other women who want to get into the tech field. Thank you so much, Liz.
Thank you so much for your time and having me on your show.